Every once in a while, a question appears that quietly follows a person through life without ever receiving a clear answer. Why do some people always feel different, even when they are surrounded by friends and family? Why do they sense emotions that no one else seems to notice? Why do complete strangers sometimes open up to them within minutes, while others become uncomfortable for reasons they cannot explain? These are not ordinary questions, and for many people, they remain a mystery for years. Yet there is one idea that has captured the attention of millions across the world, an idea surrounded by curiosity, debate, and endless math fascination. It is the idea of the Heyoka empath. The name itself carries an air of mystery, but what it truly represents is far more complex than most people realize. Across social media, books, and spiritual communities, the Heyoka empath is often described as the rarest and most powerful type of empath. Some believe a Heyoka has an unusual ability to understand people on a level that goes beyond simple observation. Others believe they naturally expose hidden truths without even trying. Many even claim that a Heyoka changes lives simply by being present. But here is the surprising part. Much of what people believe about the Heyoka empath is misunderstood, exaggerated, or taken completely out of context. The real story is much deeper, and it is far more interesting than the dramatic claims that often spread across the internet. The modern idea of the Heyoka has become surrounded by myths, while its original meaning and the qualities often linked to it are rarely explained with balance and clarity. That is exactly why this video matters. Instead of repeating popular stories without question, we are going to explore the characteristics that have made the Heyoka empath such a fascinating subject. Whether you strongly believe in this idea, remain curious about it, or simply wonder why you have always felt different from the people around you, there may be pieces of this discussion that connect with your own experiences in unexpected ways. Perhaps you have noticed that people often reveal their deepest thoughts to you without being asked. Perhaps you find yourself sensing emotional tension before anyone speaks a single word. Perhaps you challenge people without intending to, simply by asking honest questions or refusing to accept easy answers. These moments may seem random on their own, but together they create a pattern that many people spend years trying to understand. Throughout history, many cultures have recognized individuals who seemed unusually aware of human emotions and behavior. While science explains empathy through psychology and emotional intelligence, spiritual traditions often describe similar experiences using different language and symbolism. The Heyoka empath exists somewhere between these worlds in today's popular culture, blending ancient inspiration with modern interpretations that continue to spark discussion and debate. That is one reason why opinions about the Heyoka vary so widely. Some people see it as a powerful spiritual role. Others view it as a personality pattern, shaped by life experiences, emotional sensitivity, and resilience. Whatever perspective you choose, one thing remains true. The behaviors associated with this idea often encourage people to look more closely at themselves and the relationships around them. As this video unfolds, you may begin connecting pieces of your own life that never seemed related before. Small habits, emotional reactions, and lifelong experiences could suddenly make more sense when viewed from a different angle. Yet one important point should always be remembered. Feeling connected to these signs does not mean someone belongs to a special group or stands above others. Every person expresses empathy in unique ways, and no single label can fully define a human being. Labels can help us explore ideas, but they should never become the entire story. The goal is not to place anyone into a category. The goal is to encourage deeper self-awareness and honest reflection. During the next few minutes, we will carefully explore 7 signs that many people associate with the Heyoka empath. Some of these signs are well known, while others are rarely discussed despite being among the most meaningful. You will discover why certain people naturally challenge those around them without intending to create conflict, why emotional honesty can sometimes push others away before bringing them closer, why difficult life experiences often shape extraordinary emotional awareness, and why some individuals seem to influence the people around them without even realizing it. Along the way, we will also separate popular myths from more thoughtful explanations, so you can decide for yourself what truly fits and what does not. One of the final signs may completely change the way you think about empathy, because it focuses less on unusual abilities and more on a quiet quality that often goes unnoticed, despite having the greatest impact on other people's lives. That final point brings everything together, making it one you will not want to miss. By the end of this video, you will have a much clearer understanding of what the Heyoka empath is believed to be, why this idea has become so popular, and whether these 7 signs genuinely reflect your own personality and life experiences. You may discover that the answers you have been searching for are not as mysterious as they first appeared, or you may simply gain a new perspective on the remarkable complexity of human nature. Either way, this journey promises to challenge common assumptions and encourage a deeper understanding of yourself and the people around you. Welcome to our channel, where we explore fascinating ideas, hidden meanings, and thought-provoking topics that inspire curiosity and meaningful conversations. If you enjoy content that encourages you to think beyond the obvious while exploring both facts and intriguing perspectives, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss our upcoming videos. Now, let us begin by uncovering the first sign that may reveal why you have always felt different from everyone else. The word Heyoka carries a long history, but it is also one of the most misunderstood words on the internet today. Long before it became connected to empathy and personality traits, the term came from the Lakota people, where it referred to a sacred figure with a unique role in the community. A Heyoka was often described as someone who taught important lessons in unexpected ways. Instead of following the crowd, this person might act in the opposite way to encourage people to think differently. The goal was not to confuse others for fun or to appear mysterious. The purpose was to challenge habits, reveal hidden truths, and help people see life from another point of view. Over time, this traditional meaning slowly changed as it spread across books, websites, and social media. Today, many people use the phrase Heyoka empath to describe someone who is deeply sensitive to emotions, highly aware of human behavior, and able to inspire personal growth in those around them. It is important to understand that this modern idea is not a scientific label or an officially recognized personality type. Instead, it is a popular spiritual concept that combines ideas about empathy, emotional intelligence, and personal transformation. Some people connect with it because it reflects their own life experiences, while others simply see it as an interesting way to think about human relationships. In this video, we are exploring this popular idea rather than claiming it is a proven fact. The goal is not to place anyone into a special category, but to look at the qualities that many people believe describe a Heyoka empath. Whether you accept these ideas as spiritual, symbolic, or simply as useful ways to understand yourself, the patterns behind them can still offer valuable insight into the way people connect with one another. At the heart of the modern Heyoka concept is the belief that some individuals encourage growth without even trying. They do not always comfort people by agreeing with everything they say. Instead, they often ask difficult questions, notice what others overlook, or quietly reflect behaviors that people would rather ignore. This does not make them better than anyone else. It simply means they may encourage honest self-reflection in ways that feel unexpected. One of the most talked about signs of a Heyoka empath is the ability to naturally mirror other people. This does not mean copying someone's words or actions on purpose. It is usually an unconscious process that happens during everyday conversations. A person may begin speaking with confidence, but after spending time with someone who mirrors emotions well, they suddenly become aware of fears, doubts, or habits they had been hiding from themselves. Sometimes this happens because the listener remains calm instead of reacting emotionally. Sometimes it happens because they ask a simple question that causes the other person to pause and think more deeply. In many cases, the mirror is not created through words at all. It comes through careful listening, quiet observation, and genuine attention. People often reveal much more than they realize through their tone of voice, facial expressions, and body language. Someone who naturally notices these details may respond in ways that gently reflect those emotions back to the speaker. This can be a powerful experience because it encourages honesty without forcing it. At the same time, it can also make people uncomfortable. Not everyone is ready to face parts of themselves that they have ignored for years. When hidden feelings begin to surface, the first reaction is not always gratitude. Some people become defensive. Others pull away without fully understanding why. They may believe the other person is judging them, when in reality they are simply reacting to their own thoughts and emotions. This pattern appears in everyday relationships between friends, family members, coworkers, and even strangers. People are often drawn to someone who listens with real attention, but they may also feel challenged by that same presence because it encourages them to look inward instead of looking away. That quiet reflection is one reason why the idea of the Heyoka empath continues to fascinate so many people. The second sign often surprises people because it has very little to do with speaking and much more to do with paying attention. Many who connect with the idea of a Heyoka empath notice that people seem to feel deeply understood around them, even when very little has been said. This is not because they can read minds or possess some hidden supernatural ability. More often, it comes from careful observation and genuine emotional awareness. Every person communicates in ways that go far beyond words. A slight pause before answering a question, a forced smile that disappears within seconds, restless hands, a change in tone, or even avoiding eye contact can reveal emotions that someone is trying to hide. Most people notice one or two of these details, but a person with strong emotional awareness often notices many of them at the same time. Without realizing it, they begin to understand what another person may be feeling beneath the surface. As a result, they respond in ways that make others feel truly seen. Sometimes they ask a question that reaches the heart of the issue. Other times they simply remain silent and allow the other person to speak honestly. This experience can be comforting because everyone wants to feel understood. At the same time, it can also feel unsettling. Many people spend years hiding certain fears, regrets, or insecurities, not only from others but even from themselves. When someone quietly recognizes those hidden emotions, it can feel as though a private door has been opened. That is why some people feel unusually exposed around someone they believe has this kind of emotional insight. They may wonder how another person understood them so quickly, even though they shared very little. In reality, it is often the result of patience, observation, and a willingness to listen without distraction. Yet this ability does not always create stronger relationships right away. Honesty has a way of making people uncomfortable before it helps them grow. When someone gently points out a pattern or asks a thoughtful question, the first reaction is not always acceptance. Some people become defensive because the truth challenges the image they have built of themselves. Others may distance themselves because they are not ready to face difficult emotions. This does not mean the conversation was wrong. It simply shows that personal growth often begins at the moment when comfort starts to disappear. That naturally leads to another sign that many people associate with the Heyoka empath. Instead of helping others stay comfortable, they often encourage them to question what they have always believed. Most people enjoy spending time with those who agree with them. Agreement feels safe because it confirms familiar ideas and protects existing beliefs. But real growth rarely happens inside complete comfort. It begins when a person is willing to pause and ask whether their old way of thinking still serves them. Someone connected to the Heyoka idea is often described as the kind of person who asks these difficult questions without even planning to do so. They may notice contradictions that everyone else ignores. They may see solutions where others only see problems. Rather than accepting every opinion simply to avoid conflict, they prefer honest conversation. This does not mean they enjoy arguments or want to prove others wrong. Instead, they are naturally curious. They look beneath the surface and try to understand why people think the way they do. Sometimes a single question can cause someone to rethink years of assumptions. That process is not always pleasant. Letting go of old beliefs can feel uncomfortable because it requires admitting that change is necessary. This is one reason why people often have mixed reactions to individuals with this personality. Some admire their honesty because it inspires confidence and personal growth. They appreciate having someone who speaks openly instead of saying only what others want to hear. At the same time, others may see that same honesty as criticism, even when no harm is intended. The difference often depends on whether a person is ready to reflect on themselves. The same conversation that motivates one person may frustrate another. This explains why someone connected with the Heyoka concept may attract both respect and misunderstanding throughout life. They are not trying to create conflict. They simply find it difficult to ignore questions that others avoid. For many people, this way of seeing the world does not appear overnight. It develops through life experiences that leave a lasting mark on the heart and mind. Another quality often connected with the Heyoka empath is a history of difficult experiences. While hardship alone does not automatically make someone more empathetic, it can change the way they understand the emotions of others. Pain has a unique way of teaching lessons that comfort rarely can. A person who has faced disappointment, loss, rejection, loneliness, or failure often learns to recognize those same feelings in someone else without needing many words. They remember what it felt like to search for hope during difficult times, and because of that memory, they become more patient with people who are facing similar struggles. Instead of judging someone for being afraid or overwhelmed, they understand that every person carries battles that remain invisible to the outside world. Difficult experiences also build resilience. They teach that healing is usually a slow process rather than a single moment. People who have worked through their own challenges often become better listeners because they know how valuable it is to be heard without judgment. They realize that encouragement is sometimes more powerful than advice, and that kindness often begins with simply allowing another person to feel understood. Rather than seeing hardship only as suffering, they begin to recognize how it shaped their ability to connect with others on a deeper level. This growing compassion becomes part of the way they move through everyday life, quietly influencing every conversation and every relationship they build. Another sign that many people connect with the modern idea of a Heyoka empath is the strong desire to live honestly instead of constantly seeking approval from others. For some people, pretending to fit in feels more exhausting than standing alone. They may spend years trying to meet everyone's expectations, only to realize that the more they hide their true thoughts and feelings, the more disconnected they become from themselves. There comes a point when wearing a mask every day becomes too heavy. Rather than changing their personality to please everyone around them, they begin choosing honesty, even when honesty creates uncomfortable moments. This does not mean they enjoy conflict or want to upset people. In fact, many emotionally aware individuals dislike unnecessary arguments. However, they also understand that agreeing with everything, simply to keep the peace, often creates relationships built on false understanding. Real trust grows when people feel safe enough to show who they truly are. That kind of honesty may not attract everyone, but it often creates deeper and more meaningful connections with those who appreciate sincerity. Friends, family members, and coworkers eventually learn that they can rely on someone who speaks with kindness while remaining truthful. Over time, this authenticity becomes one of the strongest parts of their character. Instead of collecting approval from everyone they meet, they build lasting relationships based on respect, honesty, and mutual understanding. While this path is not always easy, many believe it brings a greater sense of peace because there is no constant pressure to pretend to be someone else. Along with this commitment to authenticity comes another quality that often catches people by surprise. Many who relate to the Heyoka idea seem to notice details that others overlook. This does not require extraordinary powers or mysterious abilities. It is usually the result of paying close attention to the small signals that people send every day. Human communication involves much more than spoken words. A person's posture can reveal confidence or uncertainty. Their tone of voice may suggest excitement, disappointment, or hidden frustration, even when their words sound positive. A quick glance away, a brief hesitation before answering, or a sudden change in facial expression can communicate emotions that never appear in conversation. Someone with strong emotional awareness often notices these subtle changes without making a conscious effort. Because of this, they may sense tension before anyone else realizes it exists. They may recognize when someone is struggling, even if that person insists everything is fine. They may also notice when someone's actions no longer match their words. These small observations often reveal larger truths about a situation. A smile can hide sadness. Confidence can hide fear. Anger can hide disappointment. Paying attention to these details helps create a deeper understanding of the people around them. It also influences everyday interactions in meaningful ways. They may choose their words more carefully because they sense another person's emotional state. They may offer support without waiting to be asked because they recognize quiet signs of stress. They may also avoid making quick judgments because they understand that every visible behavior often has an invisible reason behind it. This habit of careful observation strengthens communication and helps build relationships based on genuine understanding rather than surface impressions. As these qualities develop over time, another interesting pattern often begins to appear. People start changing after spending time with them, even when no direct advice is given. This is one of the most talked about signs connected with the modern idea of a Heyoka empath. Their influence rarely comes from giving long speeches or telling others exactly what to do. Instead, it comes from the way they live, the questions they ask, and the example they quietly set. Sometimes a simple conversation stays in another person's mind for days or even weeks. A thoughtful question may encourage someone to rethink a difficult relationship. An honest observation may inspire a career change. A calm response during a stressful situation may show another person that there is a healthier way to handle conflict. Often, these changes happen without either person realizing what has taken place until much later. Looking back, people may remember a conversation that shifted the direction of their lives, even though it seemed ordinary at the time. This kind of influence reminds us that meaningful change does not always require giving instructions or solving someone else's problems. Sometimes the greatest impact comes from listening carefully, asking honest questions, and creating a space where another person feels free to think differently. Personal growth is often sparked by reflection rather than persuasion, and people who naturally encourage that reflection can leave lasting impressions wherever they go. At the same time, it is important to separate the popular stories surrounding the Heyoka empath from reality. One of the biggest misunderstandings is the belief that a Heyoka is somehow superior to everyone else. That idea misses the true value of empathy. Being emotionally aware does not make a person more important, wiser, or more deserving than others. Every individual has strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities to grow. Empathy is not a competition, and it is certainly not a measure of personal worth. Another common misunderstanding is the belief that empathy itself is a supernatural power. While many spiritual traditions describe deep emotional connections in different ways, psychology explains many of these experiences through careful observation, emotional intelligence, active listening, and life experience. These abilities may feel remarkable, but they are still human qualities that can grow with practice and self-awareness. Instead of chasing labels, it is often more valuable to focus on becoming a kinder, more understanding person each day. Humility remains one of the strongest signs of genuine emotional maturity, because it reminds us that no one has all the answers. Every conversation offers an opportunity to learn something new, and every relationship teaches lessons about ourselves as well as others. Rather than rushing to decide whether you fit the description of a Heyoka empath, it may be more meaningful to ask whether these qualities encourage you to become more honest, more compassionate, and more willing to understand the people around you. Those questions often lead to far greater personal growth than any label ever could, and they open the door to an even deeper understanding of what these ideas may truly represent. As we reach the end of this journey, take a moment to think about everything we have explored. We looked at the popular idea of the Heyoka empath, its traditional roots, and how the modern version has become a blend of spiritual beliefs and personal development. We also explored 7 common signs that many people connect with this concept. You may naturally mirror the emotions and behavior of others, making people more aware of themselves. You may notice that people feel deeply understood around you, even when they have shared very little. You may challenge comfort zones by asking thoughtful questions instead of simply agreeing with what everyone else says. Difficult experiences may have strengthened your emotional awareness, helping you understand pain, resilience, and compassion on a deeper level. You may value authenticity more than approval, choosing to be honest even when it is not the easiest path. You may notice small changes in body language, tone of voice, and emotions that others often miss. And finally, you may inspire change in people without even trying, simply by being yourself and encouraging others to see life from a different perspective. At the same time, it is important to remember that empathy is expressed in many different ways. Not everyone who is deeply caring or emotionally aware will relate to every sign discussed in this video, and that is completely normal. Human personalities are incredibly diverse, and no single label can fully define who someone is. The modern idea of the Heyoka empath remains a popular spiritual and self-help concept, rather than an established psychological category. Whether you connect with these traits or not, what truly matters is continuing to grow, learning to understand yourself, and treating others with kindness, honesty, and respect. Those qualities can make a meaningful difference in every relationship, regardless of the label you choose to use. Now the question is yours to answer. As you listen to these 7 signs, did you recognize parts of your own life, or did they remind you of someone you know? Which sign connected with you the most, and why? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below, because your perspective could help someone else better understand themselves. If you enjoyed this video and want to explore more fascinating topics about psychology, self-discovery, emotional intelligence, and personal growth, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you never miss our upcoming videos. Don't forget to like this video if you found it interesting, and share it with your friends and family who might relate to these ideas. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.